Hey everybody, it's Josh Jackson, aka Inu Joshua, back again with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Unboxing video. This time I'm following up on the last one that I did, which was the new Kaiba tin for 2017. And this time we're going to go with the Yugi tin, which it pulls from the same cards as far as the Mega Packs, but it has different promos, primarily the Secret Rare Dark Magician. So as expected, these promo cards are going to focus more around Yugi's set, which revolves more around spells, traps, Dark Magician, and that kind of stuff. If you've been a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! For any amount of time, you probably are already aware of that, but just to make sure we're all caught up, here's the packaging where you could see the alternate art of the Dark Magician with the Secret Rare rarity. So first we're going to start with the promo cards and go through those. And as last time, I'll explain the Ultra and Super Rares of each pack, and then we'll just go through each individual card outside of that. So here's the Dark Magician. You can see the background's a lot more shiny. The lettering is silver, as with all Secret Rare. We've got another Proxy Dragon. In case you missed the last video, this one is one of the new Link monsters. It requires 2 monsters to summon. If a card you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you could destroy one of your monsters that this card points to instead. So it gives that little bit of extra protection. Went over it last time, so I won't go into too much detail. Make sure to check out the Kaiba video if you really wanted to know my thoughts on the Proxy Dragon specifically. And then here's another duplicate, because usually what the tins do, if you're unfamiliar, is they package all of the most sought-after cards from the past year. So each tin is guaranteed the Proxy Dragon and Pot of Desires. With Pot of Desires, you banish 10 cards from the top of your deck face down and draw 2 cards, and you can only activate it once per turn. So as with most Pot cards, this one, Pot of Desire, makes it so you can draw 2 cards. This time you're banishing 10 cards from the top of your deck, which sounds risky since you might lose something that is good, but then again, there's so many ways to pull from your banished area that it might actually work to your advantage. So a new card for this set is number 71, Rebarian Shark. And of course, Aqua Monsters and Water Monsters had a huge presence in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, so it's not surprising that we have another one here. This one's a Dragon Xyz effect. Needs two level 3 monsters. Once per turn, if this card has material, you can target one number's Xyz monster in your graveyard except this one. Special summon it, and if you do, attach one material from this card to it. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can choose one rank up magic spell from your deck and place it on top of your deck. So this card, it has no attack points and 2000 defense, so it doesn't really have too much ability to survive on the field, but its ability seems to be around just the ability to bring back other Xyz monsters. And this one kind of acts as using its ability immediately and then kind of gets off the field. So you don't really need it to be on the field all that long, and you might be able to bring back an Xyz monster that you thought was otherwise lost. Next is Dreamland, which is a field spell card. Has a lot of different effects, so let's see what this one does. This card can activate these effects depending on the monster types on the field. Fusion. Once per turn, if a monster is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard by a card effect, except during the damage step, you draw 1 card. Synchro. When a monster is normal or special summoned, you can increase the levels by 1. And Xyz. Once per turn during the end phase, destroy the monsters on the field at the highest level. You can only control 1 Dreamland. You can only activate 1 Dreamland per turn. So basically, depending on the field, if your deck relies a lot on extra deck monsters, and especially Xyz, just on paper, without studying it too much, the Xyz ability sounds like it's the best one to me, because it would get rid of a lot of the strongest monsters that your opponent might have. If they have a big play, and they're able to summon their best monsters, assuming that they're levels and not ranks, which of course Xyz are different from regular monsters. That way you get to just kind of wipe one of them off the field without any other real cost. So that was a great way to get yourself out of a jam. And then like the Kaiba one, this one has a Yugi token, but this one features both Yami and regular Yugi. So at this point, I've accumulated so many different tokens, I could pretty much just run a whole like sheep deck with nothing but these special tokens. So off to the mega packs. And I'm really hoping that I get some more of those Blue Eyes cards. Like on the last video, I got the Twin-Headed Dragon, which is fantastic. Like, please let me pull some more of those. So starting with the commons, Performable Inflator Tapir. Then Fusion Fright Waltz. Forge of the True Dracos, which I'm pretty sure I got a few of last time. Super Hippo Carnival. Obviously, have my head stuck in the E-Hero days, almost said superhero. Metronome, that's funny. Metronome. Get it? Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. Alright, Centaur. And then now off to the rares. Metamorphormation. Oh, and then our secret rare, Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries, which at the time that it was released was a much sought after card. I actually pulled it from one of my other samples that I reviewed before I was doing videos, and it was worth a lot, but I don't like letting go of my cards, and now that I got another one, I'm kind of thinking I maybe should have, since now I have two, but let's see what it does. Zombie Tuner effect, 0 attack and 1800 defense. During either player's turn, your opponent controls more monsters. If your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can discard this card. Reveal one card in your extra deck, then look at your opponent's extra deck. Also banish all cards in their extra deck with the same name as that revealed card. You can only play this effect once per turn. And again, the new format just changes so much because now that your extra deck is severely limited, cards like this aren't going to be as powerful or as sought after. But throughout the Synchro and Xyz and Pendulum days, a lot of cards were just staples in every deck. So this card came in handy because you knew if you were running a card that almost everybody also ran, chances were you'd be able to eliminate it before they even had a chance to get it on the field. So it's no wonder why that card was so sought after. So our ultra rare is True King Barastos the Fathomer. Almost screwed that one up, but I think I pulled it off. This one's Worm effect. If this card is in your hand, you can destroy 2 other monsters in your hand and or face up on your field, including a water monster. If you do, special summon this card. And if you do that, you can banish up to 2 spell or trap cards from your opponent's field or graveyard. If both the destroyed monsters were water, if both of the destroyed cards are water, excuse me. If this card is destroyed by a card effect, you can special summon 1 non-water worm-type monster from your deck in defense position. You can only activate the effect of this card once per turn. So at 1800 attack and 3000 defense, it's very clearly meant to be more of a wall. But with the, on top of the ability to stall and kind of block out some of the strongest monsters in the game, you can also summon it relatively easily, and if you run a primarily water-themed deck, you'll be able to activate its ability really, really easily. So especially if you're afraid of a face-down spell card that you think might ruin your big play, this will banish it so your opponent will have a hard time pulling off those plays, and you can kind of cut it off before it goes into effect and ruins your game plan. So rounding out this pack was Super Heavy Samurai Ninja Sarutobi, the first Synchro card that we're pulling in this set. Dynamis Spinos. Symphonic Warrior Synthesis. Or Synthes, I should say. Dynomist Eruption. Digital Bug Centerbit. Performable Flip Hippo. And then lastly we got Metal Foe Stealin'. Alright, on to pack number 2. Alright, so I didn't get any blue eyes on the last one, but got one of the more sought after cards of the last year, so I can't complain too much. But if I don't get any blue eyes, I'll find a way to do so anyway. But starting with the commons again, Performable Seal Eel. Crystallic Potential. Zodiac Ram. Performable Radish Horse, Paleozoic Deinonychus, and Zodiac Combo for that first set of commons. Now moving on to the rares, we've got another Zodiac, Ratpier, and Zodiac Broadbull is our secret rare of the set, or of this pack. So we got a lot of Zodiacs. I'm not too familiar with the archetype because I did, like I mentioned in previous videos, kind of drop out of Yu-Gi-Oh! For a little bit. But with that said, I'm wondering what I could do with these since it seems like I'm pulling a lot of them. But let's see what the Zodiac Broadbull does. It's a Beast Warrior Xyz effect with a question mark for its attack and defense. It needs 2 level 4 monsters to summon. Once per turn, you can also summon Xyz. You can also Xyz summon Zodiac Broadbull by using one Zodiac monster you control with a different name as Xyz material. If you use an Xyz monster, If you used an Xyz monster, any Xyz material attached to it also becomes Xyz material on this card. This card gains attack and defense equal to the attack and defense of all Zodiac monsters attached to it as materials. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material to this card to add 1 Beast Warrior type monster. This can be normal summon or set. This can be normal summoned or set from your deck to your hand. Okay, so basically it just lets you, its primary ability is to let you summon, normal summon Beast Warrior monsters just straight from the deck or the hand, which is its primary function. Plus it can gain a huge amount of attack and defense depending on what you attach to it. However, it doesn't sound too promising to me, honestly, because unless I'm missing something with the archetype, you really do need to have a deck that revolves around primarily other Zodiac cards, which on paper sounds like it's kind of common sense, but a lot of the best decks are hybrids that kind of run best sections of maybe 2 different archetypes that kind of run in synergy with each other. Whereas in this case, with this card, while it does have a big advantage if you're able to attach an Xyz monster, especially if you have a Zodiac Xyz monster besides this one, and then use that as material and gains all the other material with it. If you're stacking like 4 or 5 Zodiacs, its attack's going to be huge, and you have a constant cycle of monsters to summon at the cost of more attack and defense points every time you summon. With that said, it doesn't have any real protection, it doesn't have anything keeping it from leaving the field, and there's so many ways to do so that the effort that it takes isn't going to really pay off too much, I don't think. But moving on to the ultra rare, much better news. Got the Spirit Dragon of White, which is the first Blue Eyes archetype card that I'm pulling on this set. And let's read what that one does. It's a dragon effect, 2500 attack and 2000 defense. This card is always treated as a Blue Eyes card. This card is treated as a normal monster while in the hand or graveyard. If this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can target 1 spell or trap card your opponent controls and banish it. During either player's turn, if your opponent controls a monster, you contribute this card to special summon 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand. So there's a lot that this card does. It's relatively easy to summon. It's basically just treated as a normal monster, so you can just tribute it to get it out on the field. Of course, there's lots of other spells and everything too that you can summon it with without too much trouble. But with that said, you also get to banish a spell or trap card that your opponent controls, which kind of clears the space since the actual Blue Eyes White Dragon and many of its stronger forms don't have protection from spells or traps. So that kind of clears the field, at least of 1 card. And you get to special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon if you happen to have it in your hand. Since that's a special summon, it doesn't take away from your normal summon of the turn. So with the way those new Blue Eyes cards work together with each other, there's plenty of ways to kind of just overrun the field and kind of take down your opponent's defenses. So that's a good piece of that puzzle. So moving on to the rest of the cards of the pack, D.D. Savant Thomas. It's a really weird name for what is that even? It's like a head in a jar. Poor Thomas. Ryu Okami. Lightsworn Judgment, which I talked a little bit about Lightsworns in the last video. Summon Gate. Fright First Sanctuary. Kriston Impact. And rounding out the Trap Heavy pack is Massive Morph. There you go. So that time did pull out a Blue Eyes card, so that deck I've been wanting to build is gaining more and more pieces. So now I just hope we finish off this set strong. Alright, so Shino Bird Pigeon's our first card. And then Master with Eyes of Blue. I think out of both packs, this is like the 6th pack, and this is the first Blue Eyes common card that I could think of getting. Symphonic Warrior Guitar. Blackwing Gofu the Vague Shadow. And Blackwing was another archetype that I touched on in the last video, so make sure to check that out if you missed anything or you want to know more about it. Crystron Prayer, what does that say? Prasiordal? What the excuse me. Some of these cards are just completely out of whack, but of course, when the game's been around for this many years, you start kind of running out of names. You got Simp Amplifier. And then with our first rare, Metal Floss Fusion. And then we've got our secret rare, Full Force Virus. Kind of looks like a Crush Card Virus with bat wings. Let's see what this does. Tribute 1 Dark Monster with 2,000 or more defense. Check your opponent's hand. All monsters they control and all cards they draw until the end of their 3rd turn after this activation. And destroy all those monsters with 1,500 or less defense. So, it does perform similar to Crush Card Virus, but you kind of have to get rid of a strong monster. Well, not really. It depends on the deck, because there's a lot of cards that don't have, like 2,000 defense monsters used for stalling aren't as common as they used to be in the old days, but so more than likely it'll be a stronger, higher level card that you're tributing, but there's still the chance that if your deck runs any cards with 2,000 defense monsters that you could just normal summon, it'll be easy to pull that one off. And so especially if you're playing against an opponent that relies on high attack but low defense monsters, or especially if it's early in the game and they haven't had a means to run their strongest cards yet, and all they have are lower level monsters, you have a chance to wipe out cards both on their field and their hand for 3 turns. So of course that's an invaluable tool if you're able to execute it properly. So with our last ultra rare of the set is one of the Odd Eyes dragons, Odd Eyes Raging Dragon in this case, which is a pendulum monster. Its pendulum effect is once per turn, if you have no cards in your other pendulum zone, you can place 1 pendulum monster from your deck to the pendulum zone. So it guarantees that you're going to be able to control both sides of your pendulum zone with this card out. And this one's a dragon, Xyz, and pendulum with an effect. For its Xyz summon, it needs 2 level 7 dragon-type monsters. If you pendulum summon level 7, you can pendulum summon this card face up in your extra deck. If this card in the monster zone is destroyed, you can place it in your pendulum zone. If this card is Xyz summoned or using an Xyz monster as material, it gains these effects. It can make a second attack during each battle phase, and once per turn you can detach 1 Xyz material to destroy as many cards your opponent controls as possible. And if you do this, this card gains 200 attack for each until the end of its turn. And surprisingly, there's no other drawbacks to that effect. So its attack is 3,000, and its defense is 2,500, like the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is kind of an iconic number. Both the Dark Magician and Blue Eyes White Dragon has a lot of cards from each generation that fit its attack and defense power, but there's a lot that this card can do, obviously. If it's destroyed, it moves into the pendulum zone. If it's in the pendulum zone, you kind of have the ability to, let's look at that again, you can pendulum summon this face-up card in your extra deck. So basically, when you move it to the pendulum zone, if it gets destroyed, it gets moved to the pendulum zone. If it's in the pendulum zone, you have a chance to use its pendulum effect. If it's summoned as an Xyz monster, you attach it to another Xyz monster, it has the ability to either attack twice with that massive attack power. And a lot of times, that's why I was surprised, because a lot of times when cards have that effect, if it can attack more than once, it can't direct attack, for example, or its second ability where it could destroy as many cards as your opponent controls. They can't attack the same turn they activate that ability. But in Odd Eye's case, it can activate either effect without any other penalty, aside from discarding your Xyz material. So that's actually a fantastic card. Just thinking about ways that I could integrate that into the dragon deck I'm trying to build, like I keep mentioning. I feel like but again, things are different now compared to when this card was released. There are limits to special summoning, so it might not be as easy to use as it would have been maybe a year or so ago, but it's still a fantastic card that gives you plenty of options to take control of the field. So finishing up that pack, we got Metalfoes Volflame, Blackwing Tornado, the Reverse Wind, Bad Aim, Trap card, Bug Matrix, Shinobird's Calling, Wonder Xyz, and final card of the tin is Performable Life Swordsman. So that's about it. That's all we got for today. Thanks again for watching. If this is your first time watching, thanks for checking me out. Make sure to go over to geekscape.net, where we're going to have this video tied to an article on top of many other articles that we have, both with card games, video games, TVs, movies, comic books, everything you could think of in terms of geek fandom. If this is if you're returning and watching this video again, this isn't your first video of mine you've watched, thanks so much for coming back. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If there's any more tips that I might have missed or any other information that you think I should know about some of the cards that I went over, please contribute that in the comments and just let us know. Get the discussion going, because there's nothing more that I like than sharing Yu-Gi-Oh! And like my video games and everything that I enjoy with all the people out there. So as always, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at InuJoshua, INUJOSHUA in both cases. And as always, thanks very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.